what did we do?
What?
We did a thing, and I know a lot of people hate when people say that, but we did a thing. What is the thing that we did, Jen?
We made a podcast to be able to tell you, like, yeah, this sucks, but it's time to change it.
Is that we are leaning in all the way on what is going on in the market, no bullshit, and we are going to talk about real shit. We're going to talk about interest rates. We're going to talk about packing up and moving, best practices for selling houses. We're going to talk to all generations.
We have opened it up to be more relevant, more understanding to the fact that moving does suck. Hey Seth, notice anything different?
No.
No?
No.
No?
Oh, there you go.
Oh!
Got it.
We have a new podcast name.
We do. Fresh logo. It only took us, 14 weeks to finalize it.
Yeah. For everything that Seth and I agree on as far as real estate goes and general consensus on most things, creative liberties are not one of them.
No, that is not the case. So why don't you talk about what we're talking about here? What did we do?
What?
We did a thing, and I know a lot of people hate when people say that, but we did a thing. What is the thing that we did, Jen?
We are rebranding the podcast. So just to be clear and start off on this note, nothing is changing as far as the actual type of content that is coming out. But as Millennia, it has come to our attention that people don't know how to spell. And that apparently most of the world reads at like a fourth grade reading level. And I guess fourth grade, and I want to pull fourth graders now,
Fifth grade. Give Americans some credit.
Fine. Fifth grade reading level. But they can't spell millennial. Too many double letters, I guess. It wasn't searchable. People couldn't find it. So that was part one. We had been kind of hearing that and I shoved that one off. Seth brought it up a few times in the past and I was like, okay, well, learn how to spell. I don't know. I think it's fine. I still think it's a dope name. But then the problem also came in that it was not clearly communicating what we were here to try to do. It was, well, then there's part three, but I have even close friends of mine who were like, yeah, you have that podcast, but that's just you real estate agents. I was like, no, it's not. I was like, this is not for other real estate agents. I mean, if they want to listen, awesome, cool, but it's for consumers. And they're like, wait, what? I was like, it's educational. It's to help you, people like you. And that was not getting communicated. And then the third reason why we decided to rebrand and come up with better branding for this is because we were pigeonholing ourselves into just millennials. And while I thought that was a great idea at the time, we realized, Gen Z is on our tails. And then there's always been the fact that Seth is definitely Gen X. No matter how much we have tried to.
By 56 days, by 56 days, dude. It's margin call.
So. It was a gray area. So we have opened it up to be more relevant, more understanding to the fact that moving does suck. And we know that. It does. It's the reality. And that's what this whole podcast is about. It's accepting or acknowledging reality for what it is. We're not going to bullshit anybody and say everything's great and awesome. And oh my gosh, you can buy a house in 30 days without any work. And it's so simple without disruption to your life. It's a big disruption to your life.
It is.
So we made a podcast to be able to tell you yeah, this sucks, but it's time to change it. Let's go fix it.
I would say too, moving sucks in any market. And it's always sucked. Nobody likes packing their shit up and going. I agree. And I remember I was on with one of our mentors, Dustin, who has a great podcast for real estate agents, not consumers. But he's been doing it at a very high level for about 5 years. And
I'll throw a plug in there. Massive Agent. He's great.
Yeah. So the Massive Agent podcast, any realtors who are looking at this, check it out. It's a great podcast, but he's really we got on a call with him to talk about this whole thing. And I remember back in the middle of last year, he's like, "Oh, you have a podcast?" He's like, "What is it?" And I was like, "It's Millennium. It's like Millennium, but with a P at the end." He's like, "Wait, what?" And then he searched for it, and he said, "Seth, I can't find this." He's like, "I can't find it." He's like, "Google's defaulting to Millennium and not Millennia." So we
Well,
want
we
to be
love the Millennium
searchable.
Falcon. I would hate to disappoint the general public by finding out we are not, in fact, a Millennium Falcon. Falcon.
What are you talking about? What are you talking?
Millennium Falcon.
I know what Millennium Falcon is, but how's that relevant to what I'm talking
Because
about?
Millennium.
Are you medicated today?
It's still working its way in.
It's your bloodstream.
You watched me take it about 20 minutes ago.
Oh God, is that what you were doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So listen, we wanted to. The market has changed since we conceived of even starting a podcast, and I feel this is my take on things: is that we are leaning in all the way on what is going on in the market, no bullshit, and we are going to talk about real shit. We're going to talk about interest rates. We're going to talk about packing up and moving, best practices for selling houses. We're going to talk to all generations. And we're also going to be talking a lot about some of the things that we can do to help you get from point A to point B. And we just decided to change the name to something that was much more, much more direct and searchable. And I think it's going to be a good direction. It's going to keep us on track. And we're going to bring people in the same as we always have to help you with all your real estate needs. And not even just that, like everything you need, and, wherever I sit at settlements, I'm always like, listen, like even after you move into a house, like you need contractors, you need life insurance, whatever you need, I'm your guy. And that's an extension of our team.
Guy.
Yeah.
Well, that also goes into segue of how we're structuring this podcast also. So, there's so many topics to cover. Mm-hmm. And I had always told you, Seth, that I wish that YouTube and Apple Podcasts, well, more so Apple Podcasts and Spotify, had a better way of organizing episodes, because there's so much content we can put out, so many talking points that we can have. But, if you're a first-time home buyer, you have no relevance to being a seller yet. And, that's not really going to pertain to you. And how do you go through and filter through an episode that is actually relevant to you? Or how do you find one that you actually need to, there's so many just kind of searchable topics that we can talk about. You might be struggling with your credit and need to know what to do with that. We probably have 5 episodes already that we've even done under Millennia that would be relevant to that, but you'd have to dig back and dig through it. So we also decided to kind of silo 3 separate categories to be able to, and this will really be on YouTube. Hey, Apple Podcasts and Spotify, if you want to catch up with that and be able to find ways to categorize these, that would be great. But at least on YouTube, we are going to have 3 different playlists. It's going to be before, during, after. And we kind of see the real estate cycle. A lot of people see it as just, oh, I'm ready to move, and then a real estate transaction, and then that's it. But there is literally, if you see it as a full circle, it is never ending, because people always need to have a roof over their heads and always need somewhere to live. So there's always things to do to prepare for when you're even actually going to do it. Then there's the actual when you're in it. So that's your during. And then afterwards, it's your maintenance. It's the things to be able to keep up on your home. It's the wealth management. You now have an asset. So it's not necessarily even just maintaining the home. And we have an entire bucket of episodes of just home maintenance. But it's really what can you do with this asset that you now have, and how do you apply that to other aspects of your life? So it is just a full circle thing, a whole before, during, and after process. And that is how we decided we're going to start categorizing these.
Yeah. And the after also is preparing for the next house. Mm-hmm. So the after is really for an existing homeowner to prepare to buy, and then they come right around to the beginning of the process. So I'm excited about it, and I of course wanted to continue this project with you, and I think that it is going to be a great resource for people, and we already have a lot of fans, and we have a few super fans out there.
But something nice.
I'm really looking forward to being able to leverage this out, and this podcast has always been an extension of our team. all this education, all this know-how, connecting people to the people who can help them solve their problems. Everything that we do is really an extension of the team. So we absolutely want to use this as a mouthpiece and get the good word out. Market's going to be a little uncertain. We have a new president. Anytime we have a new administration, and we're going to take it 1 month at a time. So I'm excited for it, and I want to also go on the record that this name was my idea.
Oh no, it's not. It was Dustin.
And Jen had nothing to do with it.
All right, so it was December 14th. We're on our way back from Atlantic City. Seth and I spent an entire car ride. I had my iPad out, ChatGPT, boy was our best friend. Actually didn't get us very far, but we just are going through. We knew we needed to change the name, and man, we went through so many options. We landed on one. This was mutual, actually. And if we're going to give credit to anybody, it's really neither of us, because it's A, ChatGPT, and B, Dustin. So we came up with
that is not at all accurate, but that's okay.
Was I somewhere else? Was there somebody else there?
You were somewhere else for the very beginning when I came up with this idea, and then we just kind of tweaked it, and then Dustin brought us home with it.
Who came up with moving is hard?
What's that?
Who came up with moving is hard? Which, by the way, for the rest of you, that's what the name was going to do.
Hey, Jen, it's okay. It's okay to be wrong 17 times in a row like you have been since the new year. You've been wrong a lot recently.
They don't know that. We haven't been here. Actually, that's a funny point. I don't know if we're talking like we've been gone for so long, and I'm pretty sure episodes have still been put out.
No, I don't think we've actually published an episode since before, well before Christmas.
We should probably go into a little bit back. So, all right, now that everybody knows, the podcast name is now Moving Sucks. It's time to fix that. And why? Where have we been? What have we been doing? What happened? We've kind of been MIA. I think the last time we recorded was
November?
No. Maybe, but the last real Millennial Up at your house recording was probably before school started, the summer.
No, you're wrong. God, you're wrong a lot recently.
So then I went on, oh, you're right, because I was still having panic attacks. I went on a 2-month hiatus. Then we kind of came back to the podcast, and we're like, all right, let's record again. So we did do some. Jen was not of good health, and we kind of put everything on a back burner so I could try to function again. And then I did. And then Christmas happened. And then holidays happened. We knew we wanted to rebrand. We didn't know if we were going to actually, when we were going to put this into effect, how quickly we could actually agree on concept. Well, we have concept, but agree on design choices and names and all that fun stuff. So then we got very busy over the winter. At least I did. We changed brokerages, which is going to be the next episode about why we did that too. So we are also no longer with Remax. Surprise. A lot has happened.
A lot has happened. You're right. And it's all been good change.
Well, that is. So.
Well, all of it.
Yeah. So Jen was of poor health. Then we moved brokerages, and then we were very busy. And then we finally were able to get to this, and then took 14 weeks to disagree. And then finally, literally yesterday, agree on the logo after we had agreed on the name a few weeks ago.
That's it.
Yeah, that's all.
Now we're back. So now we're back.
Going on. And now we're back. Now we're in full swing, and we know we're going to get busy still, and we're going to stay busy. But we are prioritizing the time to this. Okay,
so let's talk about, what are the things that we're really excited about talking about in the near term for everybody so they can stay tuned for more episodes.
Would love to. And we talked about this yesterday when we were gathering our thoughts for this. So as I mentioned, we have our silos and our buckets of before, during, after categories. Seth and I also have a spreadsheet that show, what's going to fall into what category, make sure we're staying on track. There are going to be a lot of before categorized episodes. And we looked and we're like, oh, we should probably like add like more from the other ones. I said, to be honest, that's the hump everybody needs to get over though. Is, you know, it's hard to get started. It's hard to know where to start. There's a lot of pieces and planning that goes into, you know, before you even actually like get out to go see your first house in person.
Yeah.
And not just like a processes piece, but mentally. So I'm excited to actually get into like the mind, like talking about people's mindsets and thought processes and addressing those and helping people get over those hurdles. I'm really excited to talk about actual processes and have people start to like be able to have a sigh of relief to understand that like you don't have to go at this at your on your own. Oh, and especially to remind people that you shouldn't go on about it on your own, because I've been running into that a lot. And we did an episode on it before, and I'm so happy to do it again.
Yeah.
And just yeah, a lot of the before pieces I'm actually really excited to talk about.
Yeah. So I agree. I think getting talking about the psychology of this and getting people over the hump of the idea of just saying, I can't do this. This doesn't work. It's too hard. I don't make enough money. Like, it's too much to do. I don't want to give up my rate. There's nothing out there. All these things, there's all these hurdles out there that that people put in front of themselves. But you know, in the end, people are still transacting. It's not like there's no one transacting, even across the entire country, even in shitty markets, really strong markets. Everyone is still doing this, and the purpose of this podcast is to make sure people understand like how to do it and how to do it safely.
I just can't stress enough how much people need this podcast. And
I
that's
know.
not being like full of myself. It's like, and that's one of the biggest reasons that we went back to rebrand it, is because it needs to be so clearly visible that this is something that people need to see and people need to know.
Yes.
And that's not some kind of self plug. It's just, I have more conversations on a regular basis of debunking misconceptions than I feel that I do actually like in the physical transactional job.
Yeah.
And it's so much that like, and we're going to be getting into this in another episode we already talked about, but like just it's having to overcome like getting people just being listening to unqualified information.
Yeah.
And like, here's your qualified information. Oh, and by the way, if anybody hasn't actually seen this podcast before or known us under our old name, Millennia, we are two agents out of the Philadelphia area, Philadelphia suburbs, 7 counties surrounding. And we are qualified to be able to be giving this kind of advice.
Yes.
And fixing these mindsets. So it's just really important. And I'm very, very excited to get at this. And
another thing that we're going to talk about is what we call like a generational deals, where we're having people get really creative, where we're taking two houses and combine them into one, building houses, coming up with real solutions for the fact that there's no inventory in the Philadelphia area. Another thing that I'm excited to talk about as well is this idea that agents that the consumer has missed the market. Market's no longer viable. They should have bought a house in 2021, but they didn't. They're still
we're putting that today too
forever, and dispelling a lot of these economic myths. And I'll put my nerd cap on for a couple of them and bring out some economic data, which I know that you're not a huge. You like that I come out.
I like that you know that.
Yes.
And I listen to that. It does not excite me to wake up in the morning and read that. It doesn't get my feelers going. But hey, to each his own, I guess.
Well, I think it's important because it gives context. It gives context to where people are in the lifespan of their buying experience, but also gives context across like the geography and being the country, where you're talking to a guy who's trying to buy a house in Phoenix is totally different than buying here.
You said something yesterday actually on your story that I think was severely underrated and needs to be heard more, that you cannot possibly take national data and apply it to where you are, and that you can't even take one county's data and apply it to where you are locally. Like, you brought up a good point, because like, okay, Montgomery County, for instance, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, you have your Bluebell side over there and your 309 corridor over there. And then you also have Pottstown Borough over on this side and like Norristown Borough where the home values are lower here. And then you have your higher end price points over there. Those two markets are not the same.
Nothing.
And they are in the same county. Like it is so hyper local specific. So also to say that when we talk, we're not going to heavily talk like market data, market statistics, and very, geographically specific market stuff. It is going to be stuff that covers across nationally. And if it doesn't, we're going to specify we are in the Philadelphia suburb area. But it is very important to know, like, talk to somebody who knows your area locally. And if you're not from the Philadelphia area, and you need to know who you should be talking to locally, that's when you still come to us because we have a national database and national connections, personal connections with other agents across the entire country. And we make sure that you're vetted out appropriately and getting the right person to talk to.
That's right. And I equated, I think in that story, I equated national housing numbers to national polls. It doesn't mean anything. Like it just doesn't mean anything. Like I don't know what to tell everybody, but it's an easy thing for a Zillow journalist or a Washington Post journalist who doesn't know their ass from a hole in the ground when it comes to real estate, and they come up with some number to try to quantify 345 million people, 82 metro markets, and a continent worth of country. And it's like, so it's all very local. And we're going to talk about
statements that you can say do apply across the country. Inventory is low. Yes, it is. There are things that happen nationally that kind of
not everywhere.
True. Okay, fine. Yeah.
Fine. Not even close. Now everyone should go back and see that Florida and Texas episode.
That is your favorite episode,
dude. And guess why? Because I am way out ahead of this, and I am now having conversations with Florida. I'm having conversations with Florida realtors who are like, "Nah, you're crazy, and now they're starting to see it. Houses are sitting for 100, 200 days. With builders and interest rates, like completely complicating the builders situation. Now it's going to be.
All I want is a balanced market. I just want balanced. I don't want to go buyer's market and come for me, y'all, if you want. But if you don't have a house to sell, you don't want a buyer's market either.
They don't want a buyer's market. So
I just want balanced. I also don't want to wait like 200 days for a seller's house to sell.
Yeah. So I know, and believe me, sellers don't want to wait that long either. Well, listen, we're going to get all into it. Let's. So
yeah, moving sucks.
Yeah,
and it's time to fix that.
That's right.
What we're here to do and help you do.
And that's what our job is, and we love doing this. Yeah. And we're gonna take good care of you in 2025, and let's kick some ass, Jen.
All right, bet.
See ya.
Goodbye.